Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are our top stories.
President Biden pardons two lucky turkeys after their stay in a luxury suite.
Moving closer to impeaching President Biden, former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy on the progress House Republicans are making in their investigation.
A gag order on former President Trump currently being debated in court. A federal appeals court is hearing what both sides have to say about the order.
More January 6th footage released. Some conservatives say the footage undermines the violent insurrection narrative, while others disagree.
TikTok continues to raise national security concerns. Find out what Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says about the threat.
Protesters at last week's Apec summit were ambushed by a dozen men waiting for them. Hear what they had to say about the assaults.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
Hello and welcome to NTD News Today.
We have insights and perspectives on the stories shaping our world.
Breaking news, in-depth analysis, and inspiration to power your day. Now to our top stories. President Biden is set to pardon two Thanksgiving turkeys this morning.
The time-honored tradition will take place at the White House South Lawn.
Liberty and Belle are the two lucky birds. The pardons mark the unofficial start of the holiday season in Washington.
Both male turkeys are about 20 weeks old and around 40 pounds. The hefty birds have been staying in a luxury suite at the nearby Willard Intercontinental Hotel.
The tradition dates to 1947 when a turkey was given to the first family. But by the late 1980s, the tradition had evolved into an often humorous ceremony.
The president pardons the birds, who are given a second lease on life. President Biden is also celebrating his 81st birthday, becoming the oldest president in American history.
And some Democrats are reportedly concerned about President Biden's age, with some indicating there should be more candidates. The Washington Post reports that Democratic donors and allies have voiced concern about Biden's age. Some especially worry that Biden might not beat former President Trump in a hypothetical 2024 matchup.
It's a concern backed by poll numbers. An NBC poll published over the weekend found that Trump would win against Biden in such a matchup. Other polls came to the same result recently.
The Post reports that the Biden campaign had to calm down donors in multiple occasions recently, trying to convince them Biden is the best candidate for Democrats.
Meanwhile, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says both Biden and former President Trump are too old to run.
The presidency is not a job for an 80-year-old. Donald Trump would actually be older on January 20th, 2025 than Biden was on January 20th, 2021. But I think it's part of a larger issue that this is not the same guy as the Trump in 2015 and 16.
President Biden is already the oldest president in U.S. history. He would be 86 by the end of a second term.
Trump would be 82. Candidate Vivek Ramaswamy is only 38 right now, but he's facing a different issue regarding his age. Some are questioning if he's not too young to be president. Over to the impeachment inquiry into President Biden. House Republicans continue the investigation. Former Speaker Kevin McCarthy told Fox News Americans would never have known about the president's business dealings and alleged lies if it weren't for Republicans. McCarthy indicates the investigation now reached a tipping point.
We have systematically followed every place the facts have taken us each and every day. And now it's moved even closer because now we've got the subpoenas going in to get the bank statements. We found all of this, the shell companies no one knew about prior. This is important.
House Republicans have conducted multiple interviews and sent out various subpoenas and more. Some lawmakers say they have enough evidence to impeach the president.
However, nobody confirmed yet whether Republicans have set plans to follow through on the possible impeachment. Republicans accuse Biden of selling his influence to foreign nationals when he was vice president to foreign nationals.
A high-stakes hearing for former President Trump over the constitutionality of a gag order.
Trump is appealing the order placed on him in his federal election interference case. The D.C. Circuit Court is hearing oral arguments now.
Gag order in this case installs a single federal district judge as a filter for core political speech between a leading presidential candidate and virtually every American voter in the United States at the very height of a presidential campaign. The order is unprecedented, and it sets a terrible precedent for future restrictions on core political speech.
Lawyers for Trump urged the court to revoke the gag order. U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan, who was overseeing the federal elections case, imposed the gag order last month in response to Trump's social media posts.
It bars Trump from making certain statements about potential witnesses and lawyers in the case. Prosecutors with special counsel Jack Smith's team are urging the court to put the order back in place.
They say those restrictions are necessary to prevent Trump from undermining confidence in the court system and intimidating people who may be called to testify against him.
Defense lawyers call the gag order an unconstitutional muzzling of Trump's free speech rights. And they say prosecutors have presented no evidence to support the idea that Trump's words have caused harm or made anyone feel threatened.
And staying in New York, Governor Hochul's plans for quarantine camps may be in the works again. An appeals court just dismissed a lawsuit from lawmakers and citizen groups. Their attorney, Bobby Ann Cox, disagrees with the decision. We spoke earlier today. Bobby Ann Cox, welcome to our show. Thank you so much for joining us. To begin with, can you please explain the judge's ruling in this case and your initial response here?
Yes, well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. So what happened was the 4th Department Appellate Division here in New York State ruled that my plaintiffs, Senator George Borrello, Assemblyman Chris Tague, Congressman Mike Lawler, and a citizens group called Uniting New York State, didn't have standing to bring the lawsuit last year, which, if you recall, we actually won the lawsuit last year at the trial court level when the court ruled in our favor and said that this regulation that Governor Hochul and her Department of Health made it was an unconstitutional regulation on multiple levels. So now this appellate court, which, of course, the governor and the Attorney General appealed to this court. They tried to overturn our decision. And yeah, the court came down and said, well, you know what? We're not even going to talk about the merits here, whether or not this regulation was unconstitutional or not. We're just going to say, hey, you know what? We don't think you had the right to bring the lawsuit in the first place last year.
And what's your assessment of that decision? What's your assessment of the reasoning here?
Yeah, it's pretty surprising, I have to say. The trial court judge last year didn't even discuss standing. It was an argument that was brought up by the Attorney General last year at the trial court, but it's so obvious that we have standing that the trial court judge didn't even discuss it in his decision. So it was very surprising, and I don't agree. My plaintiffs and I do not agree with this ruling. We do not believe that sitting New York State legislators and the people of New York State, in a citizens group, don't have standing. It doesn't make sense. So We definitely disagree with this ruling.
And just for our viewers, what would be the potential impact of this ruling for New York, for the rest of America? As you've said, it could have an impact on the whole nation.
Yes. So what has happened with this ruling is that they have said, in essence, the lawsuit last year, the ruling there isn't valid anymore. So what that means is that the Department of Health and Governor Hochul are open to reissuing that regulation if they want to, which means they can reinstitute their isolation and quarantine procedures regulation, which the judge had struck down last year. So if they can reissue that now, that means that it's going to be a valid regulation and it's going to be enforceable by the Department of Health, the governor, the Attorney General. So it's really a dangerous situation. The other thing, and in addition to that regulation now being open to being reissued, the other problem is that this is really bad case law. An appellate court is saying that these legislators don't have the right to bring a lawsuit against the executive branch of government when they feel that the executive branch of government has usurped their power, has taken their power to make law. Yeah. It's very clear. 3 branches of government Each branch has its own job, its own authority. And here, it was clear that the executive branch overstepped and reached into the legislative branch's powers. Yeah. You have to be able to challenge that in court.
Absolutely. That is concerning. And in a tangible way, how might this affect people's lives, say, for a potential future pandemic or such?
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, so the regulation can be reinstituted now because of this court decision. So that means the regulation, for any of your viewers who are not familiar with the regulation, it allows the Department of Health to pick and choose which New Yorkers they can lock up or lock down without any proof that you're sick, without any proof you've been exposed to a communicable disease. There's no time limit, so they could lock you up or lock you down for days or weeks or months. There's no location restrictions. They can put you in any facility they want. They can either lock you down in your house or they can remove you from your house with the force of police and put you into a facility, detention center, whatever you want to call it, that they choose. You would have no say. And then once you're locked up or you're locked down, there's no procedure in this regulation that says how you get out of quarantine once you're in there. So, you know, just to give you an example, we were at the trial court last year arguing in front of the judge, and the judge asked the attorney general, you know, if you take a family and you put them into a facility somewhere, how do they get out? And, you know, the attorney general said, well, you know, they could hire a lawyer and they could sue us. You know, it's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Absolutely. Bobby Ann Cox, you've done an amazing job representing these plaintiffs and driving forward this case. For any viewers out there who are interested and concerned and interested and want to help, you can donate. That's always useful. CoxLawyers.com. And you can also read more about this on Bobby Ann Cox's Substacks. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having me on.
The border crisis was in the spotlight this weekend. Former President Donald Trump vowed to renew his crackdown on illegal immigration while visiting the Mexican border in Texas on Sunday.
Trump appeared alongside Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who endorsed the Republican frontrunner for president.
We need a president who's going to restore law and order in the United States of America, not letting these criminals run ransack over the stores that you see images of almost nightly. We need a president who's going to restore world peace as opposed to this outbreak of warfare under Joe Biden. We need Donald J. Trump back as our president of the United States of America.
It's a tremendous honor to get that endorsement in particular because he really stepped up. He stepped up to the plate. He's doing the job of what the federal government is supposed to be doing. And I'm just telling you, Mr. Governor, I am going to make your job much easier.
Earlier Sunday, President Trump served meals to Texas National Guard soldiers, troopers, and others who will be stationed at the border over Thanksgiving.
Trump also had another rally this weekend. The former president was in Fort Dodge, Iowa, at a high school. After the event, Trump signed autographs and greeted people.
A victory for former President Trump in Colorado. A judge on Friday rejected an effort to keep the GOP frontrunner off the state's primary ballot.
Colorado District Judge Sarah Wallace says she believes Trump did engage in an insurrection, but she also said that the insurrectionist ban in the Civil War era 14th Amendment does not apply to presidents.
Wallace is the third judge to allow Trump to remain on the state's 2024 primary ballot. Judges in Minnesota and Michigan have also rejected the insurrectionist ban argument.
Trump's spokesperson Stephen Chung applauded the ruling, which, in his words, is another nail in the coffin of the un-American ballot challengers. He also says voters have a constitutional right to vote for any candidate they choose.
And that there was ballot challenges. But the U.S. still has concerns about TikTok, according to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. Here she is on CNBC.
Well, look, we do have concerns. This is a matter that has not yet been resolved.
Yellen declined to discuss the concerns in detail, citing pending legal action. The platform is owned by Chinese parent company ByteDance.
Yellen said she discussed Chinese investments with her Chinese counterpart at Apec, including the U.S. process for vetting privacy and national security concerns.
Controversy in Washington over newly released footage from the day of the Capitol breach.
Senator Mike Lee is calling for the January 6th committee to be investigated. He's accusing the panel of intentionally hiding footage he believes could help some January 6th prisoners. NTD's Daniel Monahan has the latest.
Speaker Mike Johnson made waves with his Friday announcement that previously undisclosed Capitol Police security footage would be made public.
Roughly 90 hours have already been released, with more expected to come on Monday. Johnson wrote Friday on X, "Today, I am keeping my promise to the American people and making all the January 6th tapes available to all Americans." The speaker shared a direct link to a website that will be continuously updated with thousands of hours of footage. Johnson says the American people can always be trusted to evaluate information and make their own judgments and decisions, stating that when bureaucrats and partisan activists withhold data to advance a narrative, it erodes trust in American institutions. In a post on social media, former President Donald Trump congratulated the speaker for having the courage and fortitude to release the footage. The footage shows the Capitol premises during the events of January 6, 2021, when protesters made their way into the Capitol, some after battling with police. However, some of the footage shows people casually walking beside police officers who appear indifferent and let them saunter along. A number of conservatives reacted to the new footage on X, suggesting the newly released tapes could have an impact on the cases of some January 6th defendants. Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk shared footage showing police and protesters standing around casually, writing, "And just like that, the J6 committee's violent insurrection narrative has crumbled." Senator Mike Lee reacted to the post by asking, why didn't Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger ever refer to any of these tapes? Maybe they never looked for them. Maybe they never even questioned their own narrative. The two were key figures on the January 6th committee. For her part, Cheney took to X to share a previously available compilation of violent interactions between January 6th protesters and police, writing, "Here's some January 6th video for you," while Kinzinger took to X to post a screen grab from the security footage appearing to show Senator Josh Hawley running, writing, "Here is Hawley not running from not violent attackers during the not insurrection." Representative Robert Garcia says it's fine to release more information to create a broader picture about the events of January 6th, but believes the previously released footage tells a clear tale.
We know that there was a violent attack on the Capitol egged on by Donald Trump and now enabled by this Republican majority.
The January 6th committee was disbanded in January this year, shortly after it released an over 800-page report.
It voted to refer President Trump to the Department of Justice, suggesting criminal charges, including obstruction and insurrection, charges Trump denies. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Coming up, Republicans win 3 statewide elections in Louisiana. The GOP takes the offices of the Attorney General, Secretary of State, and Treasurer.
And the boss of GM's Robo-Taxi program has resigned. The company is undergoing a safety review as questions linger over a crash in October. We have the details when we return.
Don't be screwed by lesser spine institutes who bait you with minimally invasive procedures, then switch to screws, rods, disc replacements, and hardware. At Bonatti, no metal hardware fusions are ever used. Bonatti invented the precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now, Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one get one free offer goes away.
Adopting you was the best decision in our life. And I am so proud to call you my son.
Anyone who's ever sold a home will tell you it's really hard. And it's one of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make. That's why who you work with matters. Together with HomeLight, we take care of every detail.
Three men were ambushed after protesting the Apec summit in San Francisco.
A victim says they were walking back to their car when they saw the group of men waiting on the side of the road. NTD's Jason Blair brings us more.
3 men were walking back to their car on Friday. They had been protesting at the airport against Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping being in San Francisco for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, or APEC. They then noticed a group of men starting to follow them.
They were going to attack us very soon.
Coincidentally, Zhang and his 2 friends were heading to a police station to file reports of previous attacks outside of the APEC summit, but those were not as severe as this one.
So I just remember one guy just put me down from behind, and then my brain just went blank after that. I couldn't remember anything.
Zhang said the next thing he remembers, he was lying on the sidewalk.
Sit down here. They were already gone, and I heard a lady calling the police.
Of the 3, Zhang was the most seriously injured and was taken to a hospital.
It is very unfortunately, we American people, I think, know very little about how deep the infiltration of the CCP is already here.
I spoke with Jennifer Zeng about the attackers. She's a China expert and former member of the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP. She once worked for the Development Research Center of the State Council of the People's Republic of China. So, Jennifer, based on your opinion, do you think that these guys are more than just CCP supporters?
Yes, definitely so. From the way they carry themselves, the way they organize themselves, and even their haircut, some people recognize that's very similar with the CCP soldiers or police officers.
Zong said she's been getting reports that CCP soldiers have been entering the U.S. through the southern border.
What's the purpose? Could they, in some way, be activated once they got some call from the CCP?
In April, multiple CCP police stations were discovered in the U.S. The FBI arrested 2 people in connection to one in New York City.
This time, this kind of violence and organized violence has never been seen before. So I'm very much concerned they are not just your ordinary CCP supporters.
Zhang said he moved to the U.S. from China this year to escape the CCP's tyranny.
Chinese CCP to do this brutal thing in American soil? Why they allow these things happening here?
He also said during the protests, the police seemed to be biased and favor the pro-CCP supporters. Zhang said he's filed a police report, but says SFPD has not been very cooperative. So far, no arrests have been made. Reporting in San Francisco, Jason Blair, NTD News.
A hostage release deal with Hamas is reportedly close. Deputy National Secretary Advisor John Feiner was optimistic on Face the Nation this Sunday. He said, quote, many areas of difference that previously existed have been narrowed. Let's hear from Bart Marcois, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of International Affairs, about the nature of these high-stakes negotiations. Bart Marcois, thank you so much for joining us. Why does the U.S. think they're closer to a hostage release deal between Israel and Hamas?
The U.S. is being very cautious about claiming it, but there are leaks coming out of Qatar saying that they are getting closer. It looks like the two sides are approaching rapprochement. They're approaching a point where they can see an agreement in the offing. And the basic outline of the agreement is a 5-day ceasefire in exchange for about 50 hostages, women and children, with the promise of perhaps more hostages released if the ceasefire is extended.
And with the U.S. involved in these negotiations, how will American hostages held by Hamas be prioritized?
Do you know, that's a good question, and I'm not sure. I don't think the White House has been really looking out for the interests of the American hostages. I think that the priority will be given to small children and to women, whatever the nationality is.
You know, what might Israel have to concede in these negotiations?
Well, what they're really going to have to do is stop shooting the terrorists, stop bombing the terrorists. They have them on the run now, and it's a very difficult thing for Israel to stop, because they know that with 5 days, the terrorists can regroup, they can move their ammunition, their rocket launchers, they can move the hostages. Israel, you can imagine, has been using probably thermal imaging, ground sensing kinds of technology to try to find the hostages. Most people assume that they're being held in the underground tunnels, and they are going to have to initiate a level of trust in an inherently untrustworthy enemy.
Now, the IDF released footage of Hamas hostages hiding hostages at Shifa Hospital in Gaza City. How does their positioning of hostages in hospitals affect the negotiations we're talking about?
Well, it affects the fighting, especially because Israel knows, the whole world has known for decades, that Hamas hides military assets in hospitals, in schools, in civilian refugee camps, in civilian residential buildings, because they value civilian casualties caused by Israel. That helps them in their propaganda war. Hamas is very good at fighting I'm failing for the word, the unbalanced warfare, the asymmetrical warfare. They're much smaller than the Israelis, but they know how to leverage every possible asset. And their biggest asset is the death of their own people. And if they can engineer the death of civilians and get Israel condemned for it by the international community, then Israel will be forced to stop shelling them. And you know, now they're leveraging the hostages for the same purpose.
Bart, what will it take to cross the finish line on any potential hostage release deal here?
There are small pockets of very fierce fighting still going on in what they call the beach refugee camp and Jabalia refugee camp, and a few other scattered places. Those have to stop, And the Israelis will have to agree to cease aerial surveillance. Hamas is insisting on that. They said, if you can surveil us from the air, then you can see where we're going to get the hostages. Well, they also can see where they're going to hide military assets. So that's going to be a sticking point. Those are two sticking points: stop the fighting and whether or not Israel agrees to cease aerial surveillance.
All right, Bart Marcoy, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you, Chris.
Republicans won 3 statewide runoff elections in Louisiana. The November 18th victories ended the races for Attorney General, Secretary of State, and Treasurer. The GOP secured every statewide elected office for the first time since 2015. Liz Murrill was elected as Attorney General, and Nancy Landry won the race for Secretary of State. Both are the first women to hold both offices in the state's history. John Fleming was elected as Treasurer. According to the Louisiana Secretary of State's office, all 3 secured more than 65% of the vote. Former President Trump endorsed all 3 candidates. A high-speed chase with a twist ending. Recently released footage shows a heroic Georgia police officer saving a woman from a burning car. Check it out.
The Cobb County police officer had been pursuing the vehicle speeding at more than 100 miles per hour. When the driver refused to stop, the officer was ordered to back off the chase.
Seconds later, the car crashes and becomes engulfed in flames. The officer pulls over and approaches the vehicle when he hears cries for help.
Using a police baton, he breaks the driver's side window. The suspect says that her arm is broken, but the officer encourages her and drags her from the blaze.
The driver was taken to the hospital where she was treated for a broken arm and a fractured hip.
And the boss of General Motors' Cruise unit has quit amid questions over the safety of its robot taxis. Kyle Vogt said he had resigned in an email to staff on Sunday. His exit comes after an October crash that ended with a cruise vehicle dragging a pedestrian. In November, the California Department of Motor Vehicles ordered the firm to pull all its self-driving cars off state roads. It called cruise vehicles a risk to the public and said the company misrepresented the safety of its technology.
Cruise did not initially disclose all video footage of the accident, which also involved another vehicle. It says it has since shown the complete video to regulators and provided them with a copy.
The company is now conducting a full safety review and says it needs to win back public trust. A day before his resignation, Vogt offered an apology. He said that he took responsibility for the company's plight.
Vogt said Cruise needs to double down on safety and transparency. Cruise competes with Alphabet's Waymo and has been testing driverless cars in several U.S. cities.
The northernmost town in the United States is almost completely in the dark. Soon, locals won't see the sun again until late January next year.
The Alaskan city of Utqiagvik will see its last sunset of the year this Saturday, November 25th.
The sleepy municipality of less than 5,000 residents is located just 1,300 miles below the North Pole. The next sunrise will be on January 23rd. Coming up, surprise results in Argentina's presidential election. Libertarian candidate Javier Milei secures a win over his socialist rival. But what are the new president's policies?
And a fight against corruption in Ukraine, with 2 top cyber defense officials removed from their posts. We'll have the details soon when we return.
Over 13 million Americans were affected by identity theft in 2022. And the threats go way beyond just credit card fraud. Today's identity thieves can open loans, transfer home titles, and even commit crimes in your name.
Someone got my social security number, made a driver's license, and was used for criminal activity.
Your information is exposed through online shopping, banking, even corporate data breaches. No wonder there's a new victim of identity theft every 3 seconds. Only LifeLock alerts you to the widest volume of threats all in one place.
I clicked, "That's not me," and LifeLock took it from there.
If you become a victim, a dedicated US-based restoration specialist will work to fix the issue. All LifeLock members are backed by the LifeLock $1 Million Protection Package, including reimbursement for stolen funds.
I will be with LifeLock forever.
Enrollment takes just minutes. Call now or go online and use promo code GET25 to save 25% on your first year. Enroll now.
Hey everyone, it's me, Sebastian, and it is a beautiful day today. We have so much to be grateful for, so just remember, if you see someone without a smile, give them one of yours. I just love inspiring people to be the best they can be, and the reason I'm able to inspire so many people is because people like you who inspire me with your support of Shriners Hospitals for Children. Since I was little, I've broken 100 bones, and I've had 19 surgeries. Shriners Hospitals for Children was with me every step of the way. But more than that, they've given me the confidence to know I can do whatever I set my mind to. Like right now, I've set my mind to sharing my smile with you. Did you get it?
Because of people like you, I can play the violin.
I can play piano.
I can Irish dance.
The help I get is only possible because of caring people like you who pick up the phone and call the number on your screen to make your monthly gift.
And when you call or go online right now to donate $19 a month or more, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you and a reminder of all the smiles you're bringing to kids' faces every day.
Kids like me.
And me.
And me.
And me.
So what are you waiting for? You can inspire kids like me by visiting loveshriners.org. After all, you can't help everyone, but you can help someone. So let's go!
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving. Join me and bring a smile to the world with your monthly gift today.
Please call now. If operators are busy, please call again or go to loveshriners.org right away.
Join me and bring a smile to the world.
I'm Steve Lance in Washington, D.C., and we are NTD News.
Argentina has a new president. Libertarian candidate Javier Milei won the country's election in a runoff with his rival, Argentina's economy minister.
The newly elected president has pledged a new era for Argentina, a country currently facing economic turmoil, soaring inflation, and rising poverty. NTD's Cost Jimenez has more.
President-elect Javier Milei secured his win with over 55% of the votes. His rival, Sergio Massa, received just over 44%. Milei promises drastic changes for the country.
Today brings an end to this idea that the state is shared among politicians and their friends. Today brings an end to this vision that the perpetrators are the victims and the victims are the perpetrators. Today we retake the path that made this country great. Today we embrace the ideas of libertarianism.
In his first speech, he told supporters that the South American country's situation has global significance, and that there is no room for gradualism nor lukewarm measures in tackling the country's dire economic situation and corruption. Argentina has dropped from being one of the world's wealthiest countries less than a century ago to one of the poorest, owing to high government spending and stagnation under the previous socialist governments, which advocated for social justice. Milei's other pledges include eliminating the nation's central bank, cutting unnecessary government spending, and deregulating private gun ownership, as well as using the US dollar as the country's currency and cutting economic ties with China. Inflation in Argentina has soared above 140% this year, surging past 100% in February for the first time in over 30 years. Global leaders, including current and former heads of state, gave their reactions to Milei's win on social media, with many congratulating the new president, including former President Donald Trump. While Colombian Socialist President Gustavo Petro called Milei's win sad for Latin America. Milei is expected to assume office on December 10th. Cost Jimenez, NTD News.
And now, more top stories from around the world. Let's head to the UK, Germany, and other European countries. The U.S. Defense Secretary is in Ukraine today. He traveled to Kyiv by train from Poland for the unannounced trip.
It's Secretary Lloyd Austin's second visit. However, the first visit came shortly after the war started, at a time when global sentiment was very much against Russia, and nations were eager to support Ukraine.
This has now changed, and many are questioning the high sums of financial support countries are sending.
Austin addressed leaders in Kyiv today, pressing for continued assistance in Ukraine.
We've gathered up some 50 countries from around the world to work together, provide support to Ukraine as it does its work. But again, no matter how bad we want it, without the kind of help that you're providing, it doesn't work.
President Volodymyr Zelensky recently announced that a special conference involving the United States and Ukraine will be held in December.
Kyiv has intensified efforts to manufacture weapons independently. It's a response to concerns about potential shortages in Western supplies. Ukraine aims to beef up its domestic industry through ventures with international arms producers.
The conference will feature government officials, representatives from national industries, and other state actors from the U.S. and Ukraine. However, the location has not yet been disclosed.
Zelensky added that Kyiv and Washington are actively working toward joint arms production.
According to a senior government official, Ukraine has taken action by dismissing 2 top officials in the field of cyber defense today, following an investigation into suspected embezzlement.
Yuri Shikol, the head of the State Service of Special Communications and Information Protection of Ukraine, and his deputy, Viktor Zora, were removed from their positions by the government.
At the same time, anti-corruption prosecutors made an announcement about an ongoing investigation into cyber defense officials who are suspected of being involved in an embezzlement scheme. The alleged scheme is said to have embezzled a total of $1.72 million in 2021.
The names of the officials involved were not disclosed by the prosecutors, and the SSSCIP has yet to provide a formal response to a request for comment. As Ukraine pushes for European Union membership, it has intensified efforts to combat corruption, as the EU has made anti-graft measures a crucial requirement for commencing negotiations.
Hungary again commenting on Ukraine's bid to join the European Union. Over the weekend, Prime Minister Viktor Orban said Ukraine is not ready to join the bloc. He spoke at a biannual conference of his Conservative Party.
Orban also made it clear that Hungary would resist related EU talks scheduled for mid-December. All EU members have to agree when a new country wants to join the bloc. A Hungarian veto would be a significant roadblock.
In the months ahead, right up to the European elections, we face serious political struggles. In addition to budget debates in Brussels, our task will be to correct the mistaken promise to start negotiations with Ukraine, since Ukraine is now light years away from the European Union.
NATO, meanwhile, is countering Russian influence in Europe. Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg today made clear NATO supports Bosnia's sovereignty.
This comes as he's touring 4 Western Balkan countries, starting with Bosnia today, and Kosovo, Serbia, and North Macedonia later. There are widespread fears that Russia is trying to destabilize Bosnia and the rest of the region.
This threatens to undermine the stability and hampers reform. All political leaders must work to preserve unity, build national institutions, and achieve reconciliation.
British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak says his government could turn its attention to cutting taxes.
Finance Minister Jeremy Hunt is expected to announce measures to revitalize the stagnant economy this week.
Sunak emphasized the need to prioritize lowering the tax burden.
The Prime Minister added that the government would cut taxes over time without worsening inflation.
So now you can trust me when I say that we can start to responsibly cut taxes. And we will now move to the next phase of our plan to grow our economy by reducing debt, cutting tax and rewarding hard work.
Regulations for artificial intelligence. France, Germany, and Italy are all saying that the risk is not in the technology, but in how it's used. The three governments support mandatory self-regulation through codes of conduct.
This is expected to accelerate discussion at the European level. European Union officials are currently considering how the bloc should position itself on this topic.
Also in Italy, a court handed down lengthy jail sentences to hundreds of Mafia members today. This comes following a nearly 3-year-long trial. They're accused of being part of Italy's most powerful organized crime group, the 'Ndrangheta.
The heaviest penalties were handed to 2 local leaders, both given 30-year sentences. Prosecutors say the group has a near monopoly on cocaine imports in Europe.
Over the decades, the organization has established bases all over Europe, Australia, North and South America, and even Africa.
The over 300 defendants were given various sentences for drug and arms trafficking, extortion, and mafia association.
And lastly, news surrounding Colombian pop star Shakira. The singer today reached a deal with authorities.
She's avoiding a multi-million-dollar tax fraud trial. Shakira allegedly failed to pay over $15 million in Spanish income tax between 2012 and 2014.
She accepted the charges and a fine of more than $7 million, which is 50% of the amount owed. Coming up, with the holiday shopping season upon us, we take a look at a new department store that's opened up in Middletown, New York.
It's hot air balloon season in Mexico, and hundreds of colorful balloons are filling up the skies. More shortly here on NTD News Today.
Stay tuned to get this free 5-piece Ultra Nonstick Bakeware set from Gotham Steel. Are you tired of pans that burn and lids that don't fit? Worse yet, they're a nightmare to clean. You need a new set, but prices are so high it's obscene. Well, now there's a brand new professional cookware set that's ultra durable and non-stick. These pans are super slick, and they can be yours for our lowest price ever. Introducing Gotham Steel, chef-tested cookware designed to make family meals with no sticking and easy cleanup every time. Gotham Steel is made with cast aluminum and coated with Kite-Surfing, a fusion of ultra-durable titanium and super slick ceramic. This cookware comes with vented glass lids and is oven rated up to 500 degrees, so bake meals in the oven that come out perfect every time. Even use metal utensils with no scratching. Plus, the entire set is PFOA free and dishwasher safe. Other professional cookware sets can cost up to $400, but we have a factory direct deal for you. You can get the Gotham Steel 12-piece set not for $400 or even $300, but for just 5 easy payments of $49.99. But wait, order right now and we'll drop one payment. That's just 4 easy payments of $49.99. This is nonstick cookware that we know you'll love. That's why we're guaranteeing it for a full 10 years. We'll even include our self-draining fry basket, stainless steel steamer insert, and steamer rack, a $50 value absolutely free. And there's even more. As a special gift, you'll get our 5-piece Gotham Steel bakeware set. The fast, easy, ultra nonstick way to bake your favorite desserts. No grease or oil needed. Together, they're a $110 value. Yours free. That's an incredible 20-piece cookware set, plus free shipping on your entire order. Call or click now.
Call 1-800-278-6025 or go to gothamset.com. Again, that's 1-800-278-6025 or order online at gothamset.com.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. With early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
Anyone who's ever sold a home will tell you it's really hard. And it's one of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make. That's why who you work with matters. Together with HomeLight, we take care of every detail.
The highest art is beautiful, breathtaking, timeless, and moving. Experience art with 5,000 years of history, inspired by the divine. Experience Yun.
Welcome back. The holiday shopping season is starting soon, so time to start looking for gifts.
That's right. In the middle of Orange County, New York, a newly opened department store called New Middletown welcomed reporters for its grand opening. Let's take a look.
3, 2, 1.
After a ribbon-cutting ceremony on Friday, the New Middletown department store in Middletown, New York, officially announced its grand opening. The newly renovated two-story department store includes a wide range of products from local businesses as well as international items, from designer jewelry, leather products, and silk, to sportswear and select items from Shenyang Collections and Shenyang Dancer.
So our mission of opening New Middletown department store is to bring back this shopping tradition and give the people the opportunity to shop in person, shop local, and mingle with your local neighborhood.
For local residents, New Middletown holds a lot of meaning from the memories of the original building.
And it was just so beautiful to see they brought back all the traditions and bringing back a lot of memories for a lot of people. So we're very thankful about the millions of dollars of investment. And at the same time, we're very hopeful that they'll be here to do a lot of business.
It's a little bit of the past, but now we're looking towards the future, the present and future, and we're really excited what's become here.
I used to shop in Tompkins, so to come back now and see it renovated with such beauty and such wonderful products, and it's going to be a lovely addition to downtown Middletown, and I can't wait to bring my wife here.
Representatives from the offices of New York State Assemblywoman Eileen Gunther and Congressman Pat Ryan also celebrated the grand opening of New Middletown and presented commendations.
Hundreds of colorful hot air balloons in clear blue skies. Central Mexico yesterday hosted the 21st International Hot Air Balloon Festival. The city of Leon hosted the 4-day fest. Over 200 hot air balloons filled the sky. Participants came from 23 different countries.
Some balloons took on unique forms, such as unicorns, dinosaurs, elephants, and popular characters such as SpongeBob.
This festival is also a celebration of the country's first foray into hot air ballooning. The first hot air ballooning took off from nearby and landed in Rio Verde in 1842. A distinctive honor in the world of kite-surfing. This year's kite-surfing world champions are crowned in Brazil.
In the women's competition, France's champion won the season-ending competition on Saturday, but it wasn't enough to stop an American from being crowned overall champion.
As for the men, an Italian won both the season-ending competition and the World Championship. And staying in the world of water activities, the World Championships for stand-up paddleboarding is underway in Thailand.
This is the biggest ever edition of the event. It drew competitors from 52 nations. There are 3 disciplines: the technical, long distance, and sprint.
Known as the marathon of stand-up paddling, the long distance open saw the athletes tackle a 9-mile course. The sprint discipline involves a roughly 200-yard race in a straight line.
American paddlers won in the men's technical open as well as the women's and men's sprint open. And if you have any news tips or feedback for the show, please feel free to email us at news.today@ntd.com.
If you're living with diabetes, this is the sound that could change your life.
Great news for people living with diabetes. Now you can wear a continuous glucose monitor and eliminate routine finger sticks. The days of repeated, painful finger sticks are over.
Just call 800-893-8459.
If you use insulin daily to manage your condition, a continuous glucose monitor could help you control your diabetes and reduce or eliminate those painful finger sticks. If you have Medicare or private insurance, US Med can deliver a CGM system right to your door. And if you qualify, there may be little or no cost to you. Shipping is free and will even bill your insurer directly. Call now to get your continuous glucose monitoring system so you can take control of your diabetes and get back to enjoying life.
Just call 800-893-8459. That's 800-893-8459.
1 in 5 children worldwide are faced with the reality of living without food. No family dinners, no special treats, no full bellies. All around the world, parents are struggling to feed their children. Toddlers are suffering from acute malnutrition, which stunts their growth. Kids are forced to drop out of school so they can help support their families. COVID, conflict, inflation, and climate have ignited the worst famine in our lifetime. And we're fed up. Fed up with the fact that hunger robs children of their childhood. Fed up with the lack of progress. Fed up with the injustice. Help us brighten the lives of children all over the world by visiting getfedupnow.org. For as little as $10 a month, you can join Save the Children as we support children and families in desperate need of our help. Now is the time to get fed up and give back. When you join the cause, your $10 monthly donation can help communities in need of life-saving treatments and nutrients. Prevent children from dropping out of school. Support our work with communities and governments to help children go from short-term surviving to long-term thriving. And now, thanks to special government grants, every dollar you give before December 31st can multiply up to 10 times the impact. That means more food, water, medicine, and help for kids around the world. You'll also receive a free tote bag to share your support for children in need. Childhood without food is unimaginable. Get fed up. Call us now or visit getfedupnow.org today.
I'm Tiffany Meyer in New York City, and we are NTD News.
Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are our top stories.
A gag order on former President Trump currently being debated in court. A federal appeals court is hearing what both sides have to say about the order.
Some Democratic donors are worried about President Biden's age. A new report says Biden allies have to reassure donors, some of whom say the party should present more candidates.
Moving closer to impeaching President Biden. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy on the progress House Republicans are making in their investigation.
Taiwan's former U.S. envoy named as a candidate for vice president. What's her comment on CCP's election interference in Taiwan's upcoming election?
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
Hello and welcome to NTD News Today.
We have insights and perspectives on the stories shaping our world.
Breaking news, in-depth analysis, and inspiration to power your day. Now for our top stories.
It's President Biden's birthday today, and he's hosting the annual turkey pardoning event.
The time-honored tradition takes place at the White House South Lawn. Liberty and Belle are the two lucky birds. The pardon marks the unofficial start of the holiday season in Washington.
Both male turkeys are about 20 weeks old and around 40 pounds. The hefty birds have been staying in a luxury suite at the nearby Willard Intercontinental Hotel.
The tradition dates to 1947 when a turkey was given to the first family. But by the late 1980s, the tradition had evolved into an often humorous ceremony.
The president pardons the birds who are given a second lease on life.
Some Democrats are reportedly concerned about President Biden's age, with some indicating there should be more candidates. The Washington Post reports that Democratic donors and allies have voiced concern about Biden's age. Some especially worry that Biden might not beat former President Trump in a hypothetical 2024 matchup.
It's a concern backed by poll numbers. An NBC poll published over the weekend found that Trump would win against Biden in such a rematch. Other polls found came to the same result recently.
The Post reports that the Biden campaign had to calm down donors in multiple occasions recently, trying to convince them Biden is the best candidate for Democrats.
Meanwhile, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says both Biden and former President Trump are too old to run.
The presidency is not a job for an 80-year-old. Donald Trump would actually be older on January 20th, 2025 than Biden was on January 20th, 2021. But I think it's part of a larger issue that this is not the same guy as the Trump in 2015 and 16.
President Biden is already the oldest president in U.S. history. He would be 86 by the end of a second term.
Trump would be 82. Candidate Vivek Ramaswamy is only 38 right now, but he's facing a different issue regarding his age. Some are questioning if he's not too young to be president. Over to the impeachment inquiry into President Biden, House Republicans continue the investigation. Former Speaker Kevin McCarthy told Fox News Americans would never have known about the president's business dealings and alleged lies if it weren't for Republicans. McCarthy indicates the investigation now reached a tipping point.
We have systematically followed every place the facts have taken us each and every day. And now it's moved even closer because now we've got the subpoenas going in to get the bank statements. We found all of this, the shell companies no one knew about prior. This is important.
House Republicans have conducted multiple interviews and sent out various subpoenas and more. Some lawmakers say they have enough evidence to impeach the president.
However, nobody confirmed yet whether Republicans have set plans to follow through on the possible impeachment. Republicans accuse Biden of selling his influence to foreign nationals when he was vice president. Pro-Palestine groups are protesting across the country. They caused Democrats to cancel some of their convention events in California over the weekend, and they protested in the building where Fox News is based on Friday. Let's talk with Lee Smith, host of Over the Target on Apec TV, about the driving force behind this movement. Lee is also the author of The Strong Horse, Power Politics and the Clash of Arab Civilizations. Lee Smith, thank you so much for joining us. What explains the nationwide pro-Palestine movement we're seeing in our country right now? How did we get to this point?
We have an enormous core of radical left-wing activists, and we've seen this for decades, if not centuries. This is a natural part of the American political system. What's not a natural part of the American political system are the large number of people from third world entities, including the Palestinian territories, including other Arab states, Muslim states, who are bulking out these protests. And in some ways, that's really the heart of the protest. People who may be naturalized U.S. citizens, people who may have green cards, many of whom are just college students, none of whom belong here in the United States. They never should have been let in to begin with, and they should all be deported immediately.
Now, Lee, a pro-Palestinian group publicly shared a map of newsrooms, businesses, landmark buildings in New York City, calling for direct action at these sites. What kind of threat do pro-Palestinian groups pose to U.S. national security?
Well, they pose an enormous threat, and of course, this is one of the concerns that that people have been expressing now over the last 3 years, that Joe Biden has kept our borders open. Let's remember that there are anywhere between, the estimates range between 4 to 10 million people who have crossed those borders over the last 3 years, and there is no doubt that a number of that terrorists have crossed those borders. This is what happens when you leave your borders open, that anyone can come in. So it poses a very serious threat. But of course, it's not just people coming from the West Bank and Gaza. It's also would also be intelligence from different Middle Eastern entities, including Syria, the Islamic Republic of Iran. So the Biden administration has created a very dangerous situation for this country, and I can only hope that some of these places that have been identified by Palestinian activists, now many of these people have supported Joe Biden. I hope they'll now look at the sorts of things that they voted for. This is a real problem. It's not just a problem for the middle classes that they often express disdain for. It's a real problem for them as well.
Now, Lee, you sort of touched on this next point a little bit, but what are socialist groups doing at these pro-Palestine rallies? I saw some photos of these rallies, and sometimes you see socialist groups holding up socialist flags or banners. Yeah.
The Palestinian cause has been at the center of the ideas of world revolution, communist revolution, socialist revolution, dating back to the 1960s. So the idea that communists, or whatever they choose to call themselves, socialists, are still embracing the Palestinian cause can hardly come as any surprise, no matter how much more violent. Look, I mean, in the 1960s, it was relatively easy, given the nature of the news media, no matter how violent the Palestinians were, no matter how many Palestinian terrorists there were responsible for everything from hijacking planes to committing terror operations around the world, the media still managed to hide the true nature of Palestinian activists and terrorists. Now it's much harder to hide this. So all we're seeing is something that's existed for, again, more than half a century.
And some of these protesters are echoing the voice of Hamas, this terrorist group that committed these atrocities on October 7th. With that, France, Germany, India have all banned pro-Palestine protests. You know, it's hard to imagine such a ban in the U.S., but what are the arguments for and against it, given the importance of free speech here?
Look, I don't really think this is a free speech issue. I mean, you know, if people want to go around and protest on behalf of Hamas, just like they want to protest on behalf of Al Qaeda, it doesn't matter to me, right? And the problem is that they're not just out there protesting on behalf of Hamas. If they want to drag their own names through the mud, then that's absolutely fine, right? But the problem is, the issue is the problems they're causing for countries around the world. It's the violence, right? Because that's what they're supporting. They're supporting violence. So is there any surprise that they're harassing pro-Israel protesters as well? Is it any surprise that they're attacking different monuments? I mean, look at what happened with a pro-Hamas rally in Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago. The problem is the actual violence that they're causing. So a lot of people are trying to bring this into free speech debates, and it has nothing to do with freedom of speech.
All right, Lee Smith, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Coming up, the northernmost town in the United States goes dark next Saturday. Soon, locals won't see the sun again until late January next year.
And some psychiatrists say personality disorders among parents are driving a surge in transgenderism in children. Epic Times reporter Darlene Sanchez breaks it down. More in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
Experience art with 5,000 years of history, inspired by the divine. Experience Shingyun.
The Medicare Advantage and Prescription Drug Plan annual enrollment period is now open.
Ugh, every year I have to listen to all these commercials.
We're sorry, Karen, and we know it's annoying, but we want to make sure everyone on Medicare knows it's time to check and see if they can enroll in a plan that will save money or include additional benefits.
I just want these commercials to stop.
Honestly, Karen, we do too, but this is the only time of year when everyone on Medicare can call and see if there are plans with additional benefits available in their area.
I already have a Medicare Advantage plan, so these commercials aren't even for me.
Well, Karen, plans may change every year, and the 2024 Medicare Advantage plans are now available. The phone lines are open.
Just call 800-940-7258.
The Medicare annual enrollment period is the only time of year when all Medicare recipients can call and enroll in a new Medicare Advantage plan. This is also the time to call if you want to change plans. This enrollment period is only open for a limited number of weeks.
Do I have to call now for 2024?
2024 plans are available now during the annual enrollment period. Our licensed insurance agents are standing by to take your call. Call now and get a free benefits review with no obligation to enroll.
Just call 800-940-7258.
So, I can call and not sign up for a plan?
That's right. We just want to make sure everyone on Medicare gets information about plans with the coverage they want in 2024. You can call to check and see what plans with additional benefits may be available in your area.
I need to get that number one more time.
That number again is
800-940-7258.
Is the call free too?
Yes, the call and benefits review are free with zero obligation to enroll. Call now.
Just call 800-940-7258. That's 800-940-7258.
Did you know ESG is impacting every part of your life? From rising gas prices to global food shortages to out-of-control inflation, even losing your freedom of speech and being censored on the internet. It's all being driven by ESG ideology. Who's in control? What can you do about it? Find out in The Shadow State, the first documentary exposing ESG. The ESG movement of governments and corporations operates in the shadows. Only the light of truth can expose it. Watch The Shadow State documentary, streaming now.
Coming up on our next installment of America's Hope, it's that time of year, Thanksgiving and Christmas, when loved ones get together. But Melanie and Steve Miller thought that their Christmas season would never come again. A year ago, Steve faced an aneurysm. We'll talk about his miracle story on our next episode of America's Hope.
Welcome back. A high-stakes hearing for former President Trump over the constitutionality of a gag order.
Trump is appealing the order placed on him in his federal election interference case. The D.C. Circuit Court is hearing oral arguments now. Lawyers for Trump urged the court to revoke the gag order. U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan, who is overseeing the federal elections case, imposed the gag order last month in response to Trump's social media posts.
It bars Trump from making certain statements about potential witnesses and lawyers in the case. Prosecutors with special counsel Jack Smith's team are urging the court to put the order back in place.
They say those restrictions are necessary to prevent Trump from undermining confidence in the court system and intimidating people who may be called to testify against him.
Defense lawyers call the gag order an unconstitutional muzzling of Trump's free speech rights, and they say prosecutors have presented no evidence to support the idea that Trump's words have caused harm or made anyone feel threatened. The border crisis was in the spotlight this weekend. Former President Trump vowed to renew his crackdown on illegal immigration while visiting the Mexican border in Texas on Sunday.
Trump appeared alongside Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who endorsed the Republican frontrunner for president.
We need a president who's going to restore law and order in the United States of America, not letting these criminals ransack over the stores that you see images of almost nightly. We need a president who's going to restore world peace as opposed to this outbreak of warfare under Joe Biden. We need Donald J. Trump back as our president of the United States of America.
It's a tremendous honor to get that endorsement in particular because he really stepped up. He stepped up to the plate. He's doing the job of what the federal government is supposed to be doing. And I'm just telling you, Mr. Governor, I am going to make your job much easier.
Earlier Sunday, President Trump served meals to Texas National Guard soldiers, troopers, and others who will be stationed at the border over Thanksgiving.
Trump also had another rally this weekend. The former president was in Fort Dodge, Iowa at a high school. After the event, Trump signed autographs and greeted people. Republicans won 3 statewide runoff elections in Louisiana. The November 18th victories ended the races for Attorney General, Secretary of State, and Treasurer. The GOP secured every statewide elected office for the first time since 2015. Liz Murrill was elected as Attorney General, and Nancy Landry won the race for Secretary of State. Both are the first women to hold both offices in the state's history. John Fleming was elected as treasurer. According to the Louisiana Secretary of State's office, all 3 secured more than 65% of the vote. Former President Trump endorsed all 3 candidates. A high-speed chase with a twist ending. Recently released footage shows a heroic Georgia police officer saving a woman from a burning car. Check it out. The Cobb County police officer had been pursuing the vehicle, speeding at more than 100 miles per hour. When the driver refused to stop, the officer was ordered to back off of the chase.
Seconds later, the car crashes and becomes engulfed in flames. The officer pulls over and approaches the vehicle when he hears cries for help.
Using a police baton, he breaks the driver's side window. The suspect says that her arm is broken, but the officer encourages her and drags her from the blades.
The driver was taken to the hospital where she was treated for a broken arm and a fractured hip. The northernmost town in the United States is almost completely in the dark. Soon, locals won't see the sun again until late January next year. The Alaskan city of Utqiagvik will see its last sunset of the year this Saturday, November 25th.
The sleepy municipality of less than 5,000 residents is located just 1,300 miles below the North Pole. The next sunrise will be on January 23rd.
The CEOs of Discord, Snap, and X are under subpoena by the Senate Judiciary Committee. It's planning a hearing online child sexual exploitation. It also expects CEOs of Meta and TikTok to testify voluntarily.
The hearing is set for December 6th in a bid to address the failings of social media companies to protect children online.
Discord and X have refused to cooperate, prompting the committee to seek assistance from the U.S. Marshals Service to serve the subpoenas personally. And turning now to transgender issues and the complex web of relationships forming among children, their parents, and their medical and mental health professionals. With a new term forming to describe one phenomena in this emerging area, we spoke with Epoch Times reporter Darlene Sanchez, who's reported extensively on this topic. Darlene, welcome to our show. Thank you so much for joining us. To begin with, there's a new term on the block, Transhausen by proxy. It's something coined by some experts out there in the transgender space. Could you explain it for us and just how it came to be?
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me. Transhausen by proxy is a term coined. It's a play on a real mental health disorder called Munchausen by proxy. And I'll start by telling you what Munchausen by proxy is. It's a very rare mental disorder where a caregiver, normally in most of the cases it's a mother or a female, who either makes up or exaggerates a health problem with a child or someone in their care in order to gain attention. So Transhausen by proxy was the term that some people started using to describe parents out there who seem to actually push this more on their children than the children themselves. It was an attention getter thing, and I think a lot of people probably seen this online with celebrities and with some parents that, make the news and are out there, talking about how they've even moved from a red state to a blue state.
Right. Yeah, what kind of impact do you think these celebrities are having on the broader discussion about this, when they're out there promoting their acceptance of this condition within their children of transgenderism?
I think it is having an impact. I mean, if you look at, there is the theory out there that this transgender explosion that we're seeing is part of a social contagion because, in the past, these cases were basically rare. They didn't come out a lot. And when they did, it was mainly with males. And most of the time, people who have gender dysphoria, that's a real condition. It resolves itself by the time they get through puberty. So I think by seeing all this out there, celebrities touting this, getting a lot of attention, people are saying, hey, wow, I can get a lot of attention by, saying my kid is transgender.
And what evidence or indicators are out there that you've seen that suggests that parents' potential personality disorders such as narcissism could be contributing to this rise in gender dysphoria or transgenderism?
Well, there have been several experts who have worked in these clinics who have actually called it something like, they've called it Munchausen by proxy. Said it seems like that this was to meet their own, these parents, some of them, to meet their own psychological needs, that's why they were there. They talked about, for example, here in the States, there was a whistleblower who worked in Missouri at one of those gender clinics, Miss Reed, and she talked about how, the fathers at times would fight to not have their children transition, and it would be the mothers that would really push this, and that they would go ahead and do it based on one parent, usually the mom, who wanted the child to transition. And over in England, too, they had, the Tavistock facility there, and there was a psychiatrist who described a similar situation there.
And what kinds of concerns or warnings have medical professionals expressed to you or that you've seen out there about rushing towards this gender-affirming care for children before there's any real solid evidence of the benefits outweighing the risks?
Absolutely. Well, in my article, there's a Dr. Erica Lee, and she's a pediatrician, and she goes by what the science says. And for her, it became clear that there was not a certain outcome, showing a lot of benefit for transitioning. So she's like, if you don't know what's actually behind it, the cause, and you don't really know what the outcome is going to be, why would you do a radical procedure such as, hormones that might be, that are irreversible if you do cross-sex hormones? I know some people argue that it is reversible, but a lot of people are saying no. The evidence is showing it's not, or surgery, of course. So why would you go ahead and do that? And, for her, and I'm sure there's other pediatricians out there, this is not something you want to do and rush into. You need to wait and make sure that this is something that this child is truly experiencing after puberty.
Yeah. Darlene Sanchez, reporter with the Epoch Times, thank you so much for your coverage.
And now some encouraging news in the fight against childhood cancer. The death rate for cancer among children in the U.S. is a quarter lower than it was 2 decades ago. That's according to a report published by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The report found there were 2.1 cancer deaths for every 100,000 kids younger than 20 in 2021, a drop of 24% from 2001. Among the encouraging news, death rates from leukemia, once the most common cause of cancer death among kids in the U.S., were nearly cut in half between 2001 and 2021.
Coming up, a dangerous naval encounter between an Australian and a Chinese warship. The Australian Prime Minister is now speaking up about it.
And rescuers in India trying new ways to reach the workers trapped inside a tunnel. Find out how the rescue efforts have been going. We'll have those details soon when we return.
Looking for a healthy and smooth-tasting brew? Drop by Days Coffee Roasters today and explore our wide selection of specialty-grade, small-batch roasted coffee. Home to North America's first enzyme-fermented coffee, we source a wide selection of specialty-grade coffee beans from around the world, and our baristas are ready to craft your customized brew. Visit Days Coffee at 28 North Street, Middletown, New York. Come experience a brew like no other.
This is it, the culmination of everything our young athlete has worked for these past months. He's filled with determination. You can see it in his face. Is today the day he overcomes? And here we go. There is no defense in the world that will keep him at bay. He's on fire. Nothing can stop him. Watch him as he heads towards the goal. Oh, he's blocked hard. But that doesn't stop him. He's a warrior. He's back up. His eyes are on the goal. He's set up for the shot. He shoots. Goal!
Achieving goals like this is only possible with the monthly support of people just like you.
Please call the number on your screen right now and give your monthly support to Shriners Hospitals for Children so other children can reach their goals too.
If you give just $19
a month, only 63 cents a day, we will send you your very own Love to the Rescue blanket as a reminder of the love you're giving us. Because of monthly support of people like you, nothing is stopping me from achieving my goals.
And here we go. There is no defense in the world that will keep him at bay. He's going left. Oh, he fakes right and continues. Look at those moves. He takes the shot. Goal! Please call or go online now. If operators are busy, call again or go to loveshriners.org to give right away. Your monthly gift helps kids achieve their goals. Goal!
Anyone who's ever sold a home can tell you it is really hard. That's why who you work with matters. Together with HomeLight, we've helped thousands of people sell faster and for the best price.
I'm Kelly Wright in New York City, and we are NTD News.
Welcome back. A number of major companies are pulling ads from X, formerly known as Twitter. Among them are IBM, Disney, NBC, Universal, and Warner Brothers Discovery.
Joining us now to discuss is NTD business host Don Ma. What's going on here, Don?
These companies, some of them actually didn't say why they were pulling ads from X, formerly known as Twitter. So we won't know for sure 100%, but this move actually comes after a report by a media news outlet called Media Matters for America. And what this report alleges is that there has been anti-Semitic content next to ads by different advertisers. And this report said that viewers can see these ads alongside of these comments, so that's not a good thing. And it had a couple of screenshots actually showing this happening in the real world experience. But it seems like according to Twitter, Media Matters kind of faked these photos, not in the sense that it was photoshopped or anything like that. So let me explain here. So according to a small investigation by Twitter, their data shows that apparently a user with Media Matters created alternate accounts on X, and then they followed a lot of these anti-Semitic content creators. So their timeline was populated by these anti-Semitic posts. And what they would do is they would refresh their timeline over and over until they do get an ad next to some of these anti-Semitic posts. So it appears that's what's happening according to Twitter.
So what are some of the specific data points surrounding this that X is
Right, it's actually very interesting. So apparently, according to Twitter, on that day, there were about 5.5 billion ads served in total, and only around 50 ads were displayed alongside anti-Semitic content that were mentioned in the Media Matters report. So 50 out of 5.5 billion, that's like 0.000009%, something like that. So, and the Twitter spokesperson actually said this just goes to show like how efficient Twitter is actually in terms of avoiding these types of situations. And another point made by Twitter in their investigation is that for one of the ads that appeared next to anti-Semitic content that was mentioned in the report, actually only one person saw this ad the whole day, and it was actually the user from Media Matters who saw it. So one person, and it was only that person who saw it. So basically what X is saying is that the report actually misrepresents what the actual user experience looks like on X when it comes to these type of content and ads. And Elon Musk actually tweeted over the weekend that they plan to file a lawsuit against Media Matters. today, actually. And the reaction from the president of Media Matters was interesting because he didn't actually dispute what Twitter claimed, which, you know, if it were me, the first chance I would get if somebody's accusing me of falsifying a report is dispute the specific points that the other party is alleging. So, I mean, it seems like either he didn't want to or for some other unknown reason. But that's the general situation here.
All right, what else do you have for us today, Don?
All right, so it seems like the former CEO of OpenAI is joining Microsoft after being fired last week. Sam Altman will lead Microsoft's new artificial intelligence research team. The tech giant hired Altman just days after he was ousted from OpenAI. The details surrounding OpenAI's boardroom shakeup are murky as of right now, but a key factor was reportedly Altman's push to develop AI more aggressively, leading to tension with the more cautious board. And good news for those expecting packages this holiday season. Carriers like the US Postal Service, FedEx, and UPS have the capacity to meet projected demand this holiday season, so that's good news. UPS is well on its way to hiring 100,000 people to meet the peak. The US Postal Service, meanwhile, hired 10,000 seasonal workers, and FedEx is also hiring for some locations and is ready for the season. But, you know, even so, shoppers shouldn't feel like they can wait until the last minute. You know, you want to get your shopping done as early as possible. And finally, UAW rank and file members approved contracts with Ford and Stellantis. Almost 70% of members in both companies voted for the deal. Workers returned to work weeks ago after the tentative agreement was reached, and the approval of new contracts with Detroit's big three automakers ends any chance for strikes by the union until the contract runs out in 2028. And workers will receive an immediate 11% raise and 30% over the contract's life, and as well as improvements in retirement benefits and job security also on the way. That's all from me.
All right, thank you, Don.
Thanks. And you may have seen the face of President Ulysses S. Grant staring up at you a lot last year if you frequently dealt with cash.
It turns out that a record number of $50 bills were printed in 2022. Last year, the government printed more than 756 million of those bills. That is the highest total of denomination printed in 1 year in more than 40 years.
Normally, the bill isn't used as often as the other denominations, but during the pandemic, people started to hold on to cash, and it's easier to do so with the bigger bills. As a result, the Fed requested more of the $50 bills when it placed its order for 2022 with the Bureau of Engraving and Printing.
That order was placed in July of 2020 when the country was still in the midst of the pandemic.
The frontrunner for Taiwan's presidency just named his running mate in January's election, Taipei's former envoy to the United States.
She's a high-profile diplomat, well known in Washington, but was denounced by Beijing.
Taipei's former envoy to the United States has been named the vice presidential candidate for the upcoming election on Monday. Xiao Meiqing is a high-profile diplomat well known in Washington, but who Beijing denounces as a separatist. She will be running alongside Lai Ching-te, the ruling Democratic Progressive Party's presidential candidate.
I believe we have lots of common convictions. We are both willing to take on responsibility for Taiwan, with a common belief that Taiwan's democracy and freedom can last forever. That is our deepest connection.
The DPP champions Taiwan's separate identity from China, while the largest opposition party, the Kuomintang, traditionally favors close ties with Beijing. Lai has led in most opinion polls ahead of the election, which is taking place as Taiwan comes under increased pressure from China to accept its sovereignty claim. Xiao has been Taiwan's de facto ambassador to the United States since 2020. She has extensive connections in Washington. The Foreign Ministry accepted her resignation as U.S. envoy earlier on Monday. The United States, as with most countries, has no formal ties with Taiwan, but it's the island's most important international supporter and arms supplier. Like Lai, Xiao is despised by China, which has twice placed sanctions on her. China's Taiwan Affairs Office referred to Lai and Xiao as an independence double act, adding that Taiwan's people were very clear about what their partnership meant for the situation in the Taiwan Strait. It did not elaborate. Lai dismissed China's comment.
China's thoughtless remarks on this election are sufficient to prove that China is intervening in this election, because none of the Chinese officials have gone through the baptism of democracy. So there is no reason for us to reply to these remarks.
Xiao was born in Japan to a Taiwanese father and American mother.
And now here's more top news from Asia and Oceania. The Australian Prime Minister is criticizing the Chinese regime over a dangerous naval encounter. It was between a Chinese warship and an Australian warship in international waters last Tuesday.
A Chinese destroyer used sonar while Australian naval divers were underwater. The divers were trying to clear fishing nets that tangled the propellers of their ship. One Australian diver was injured as a result of the sonar.
Australian officials called the Chinese warship's behavior dangerous, unsafe, and unprofessional.
Our major concern, of course, is always for the safety of our Australian Defence Force personnel. And in this case, one person suffered an injury as a result of the actions of China. Be clear, they were engaged in normal activity, maritime surveillance that occurs because of freedom of navigation that exists through the South China Sea.
Staying in the South China Sea, the Philippine president says the situation has become more dire in the region.
He says the Chinese regime has shown interest in atolls and shoals that are closer and closer to the coast of the Philippines. The nearest atoll is about 70 miles from the Philippines.
The Chinese regime claims virtually the entire South China Sea as its own territory, despite an international tribunal ruling against it.
Marcos made those remarks during a question and answer session after he delivered a talk in Honolulu.
The nearest reefs that the PLA have started to show interest in terms of slowly using these atolls, these shoals, as a basis for building. Basis really is what they are approaching, have come closer and closer to the Philippine coastline.
South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol is heading to the UK today for a state visit. He's hoping to boost economic ties and security partnerships during the 4-day trip.
It will be Britain's first time hosting a state visit under King Charles. The British ambassador to South Korea says people could expect new partnerships and agreements.
During the visit, the South Korean leader and his wife will receive Britain's traditional royal pomp and ceremony. King Charles and Queen Camilla will formally welcome Yoon and his wife during a ceremony at Horse Guards Parade in London.
Yoon will receive a guard of honor and ride in a carriage procession to Buckingham Palace. They will also be commemorating the sacrifice of British soldiers during the Korean War.
North Korea is reacting to the Biden administration's proposed sales of weapons to Japan and South Korea.
Pyongyang called the potential sales of a Tomahawk weapon system to Japan and military equipment to South Korea a dangerous act.
Last Friday, the State Department revealed the Biden administration has approved the proposed sale of a $2 billion missile system to Japan. The State Department said the sale will improve Japan's capability to meet current and future threats.
The Pentagon also announced last week a proposed sale of missiles to South Korea.
Rescue efforts are continuing in India for the 41 workers trapped inside a collapsed tunnel. Rescuers began an attempt to dig toward them vertically today.
It's been 9 days since rescue efforts began, and it's been stymied by debris and technical glitches. The horizontal drilling effort was halted after the machine was damaged.
The government says the trapped workers are healthy and receiving food like nuts, roasted chickpeas, and popcorn through a pipe. They get oxygen supplies through another pipe.
From the vertical direction, drilling to the tunnel will take a few days and debris could fall during the digging. Officials said the efforts to reach the workers from the horizontal tunnel would continue.
The U.S. and Australia are taking another joint step forward to combat online child sexual exploitation worldwide.
The two countries hosted the inaugural meeting of a joint council to tackle the issue. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas and the Australian Attorney General convened the meeting.
A joint statement reads, "Online child sexual exploitation and abuse is increasingly prevalent, commodified, and worsened by the speed, scale, and scope of digital technologies."
And that the United States and Australia are steadfast in combating all forms of child exploitation and abuse.
Coming up in college football, could an injury sidetrack a team's shot at the playoffs, even if they win every game? We'll talk with NTD's sports reporter Dave Martin after the break.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now, Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one get one free offer goes away.
If you're living with diabetes, this is the sound that could change your life.
Great news for people living with diabetes. Now you can wear a continuous glucose monitor and eliminate routine finger sticks. The days of repeated, painful finger sticks are over.
Just call 800-893-8459.
If you use insulin daily to manage your condition, a continuous glucose monitor could help you control your diabetes and reduce or eliminate those painful finger sticks. If you have Medicare or private insurance, US Med can deliver a CGM system right to your door. And if you qualify, there may be little or no cost to you. Shipping is free and will even bill your insurer directly. Call now to get your continuous glucose monitoring system so you can take control of your diabetes and get back to enjoying life.
Just call 800-893-8459. That's 800-893-8459.
Thank you for staying with us. And now for your sports update. We're joined by NTD's Dave Martin. Dave, plenty of sports news over the weekend. Let's start with the NFL. The Jets benched quarterback Zach Wilson yesterday. Was this an expected move?
Yeah, but weeks ago. I think they would have done it sooner had they had a more experienced backup behind him. Tim Boyle does not have a very long track record really at this point. You know, their offense has struggled since week 1 when Aaron Rodgers went down with an injury. I don't think you can blame this all on the quarterback, though. Their offensive line has been completely disseminated by injuries. I think the team is really just hoping to hold on until Rodgers makes a possible miraculous return next month. But I'm afraid it's going to be too little, too late.
And over in Cleveland, you know, the Browns are without their top pick, Deshaun Watson, yet they're still doing pretty well. What do you think is that due to?
I think the Jets are wondering that as well. You know, I mean, the Browns are also without their top running back, Nick Chubb. You know, Watson, though, hasn't missed the entire season like Aaron Rodgers has. Yet even when healthy, though, he hasn't put up his usual great, Pro Bowl numbers. Now, the Jets have at least stayed afloat with a great defense. Cleveland, though, they're riding their great defense to a possible division title. Should they make the playoffs, I think Kevin Stefanski, he should win Coach of the Year.
And Dave, just shifting gears to college football, Florida State's star quarterback Jordan Travis is now out for the season with a knee injury. Do you think the playoff committee will dock them with points for this?
I hope they don't. I mean, you shouldn't be penalized just because they don't think you're going to do well without someone. Maybe they have another star quarterback down on their depth chart, or maybe they switch around their offense and they find, another way to be successful. The only way we'll really know is if somebody actually asks them directly, because even if they drop a spot in the rankings this week, which could happen because Washington right behind them, they're undefeated. They had a more impressive win this weekend. I think the committee, though, would catch quite a break, though, if Florida State lost and they never had to answer this question.
And also, speaking of the playoff rankings, are they getting more important, do you think, as we head toward the final one?
Well, they're certainly getting more complicated. I mean, obviously, only the last one really counts. I grant it'll be interesting this week to see if they put Washington ahead of Florida State. And next week, what about Michigan, Ohio State? They play this weekend. If it's a close game, does the loser then fall behind Washington and Florida State? I think all these questions, though, justifies going to a 12-team playoff next year, so you can at least have some automatic bids.
Right. Thanks for the update, Dave.
Oh, you're welcome.
Now, if you want to enhance your sleep, alleviate headaches, and reduce constipation, you may want to consider incorporating magnesium-rich breakfasts into your routine.
Here's NTD's Gina Marie with Strong Mind and Body.
A typical weekday for many starts with the snooze button. We eventually roll out of bed to start another groggy workday. But imagine waking up feeling refreshed and rested. The only change you've made is adding magnesium to your breakfast.
About half of Americans are magnesium deficient. It's often due to depleted soils and so many chemicals that are present in our foods. The magnesium triad of symptoms include migraine, leg cramps, and constipation. If people are suffering from these, it's almost certain they are magnesium deficient. A lack of magnesium can wreak havoc on your health. Deficiency has been tied to an array of common ailments. Studies show that many obese patients have inadequate intake of minerals. This includes magnesium. This is likely due to poor diet quality, especially the overconsumption of high-calorie, low-nutrient processed foods. Migraines take a major toll, ranking as one of the leading causes of disability worldwide. Researchers have linked deficient magnesium levels to an increased risk of migraine headaches.
Magnesium can eliminate PMS symptoms by modulating neurotransmitters. This reduces muscle tension and promotes relaxation.
Magnesium is involved in the metabolism of glucose in the body. Insufficient levels may impair insulin function. Magnesium typically has a laxative effect and is often used to relieve constipation. It works as an osmotic laxative. It draws water into the intestines and softens the stool. This makes it easier to pass.
Ideally, we get magnesium through our foods, but sometimes we need supplementation while the gut heals.
One tasty way to add more magnesium to your diet is to prepare breakfasts using magnesium-rich ingredients. Here are some traditional breakfast foods to consider that are rich in magnesium: pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, spinach, avocado, soy milk, oats, milk, shredded wheat cereal, peanut butter, banana, and egg.
Miss Nicaragua has been crowned 2023's Miss Universe.
She bested 19 semifinalists to win the annual beauty pageant in El Salvador's capital, San Salvador. Meet Xenius Palacios. This year's competition brought together 84 winners of national pageants around the globe.
Miss Thailand is placed as first runner-up.
Palacios takes the crown from Raboni Gabrielle of the U.S., who won last year's Miss Universe.
When asked who she would choose to spend a day in the life of, Palacios chose feminist writer Mary Wollstonecraft, the mother of Frankenstein author Mary Shelley.
It was a happy ending for a shelter dog named Elvis. Check him out. The Anti-Cruelty Society in Chicago hosted an animal shelter adoption event last weekend, and Elvis was the only dog not to get adopted. Local media did a report on Elvis, which a couple saw, and decided they wanted to adopt. The Anti-Cruelty Society says the adopting couple is, quote, head over heels in love with their new family member and already has a dog bed and tons of toys waiting for him at his forever home. That's all for today's news.
Thank you for tuning in.
Feel free to reach out to us with any news tips or feedback at news.today@ntd.com.
And we'll be back with more stories tomorrow.